Java with Joe, the podcast, is brought to you by Kemba Credit Union, celebrating over 90 years of quality service to our membership. Sponsored in part by First Choice Coffee, the official coffee of Java with Joe, and Real Vision. Also by Bethesda Butler Tri-Health Hospital and Cincinnati State Workforce Development Center. And now your host, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Westchester Liberty Chamber Alliance, Joe Hinson.
Thank you. Today we're with Pastor Freddie Piphus Jr., founder and lead pastor of Zion Global Ministries in Westchester Township. Welcome, Freddie.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you. So, Freddie, you're originally from Cincinnati.
Yes, most people think that I'm from Tennessee because I talk about it all the time as being home.
Sure. Okay. Well, good. So what brought you to, stay in this area? You know, you talk about Tennessee. Obviously, you had family there. What made you decide that this was going to be home for you?
Cincinnati or
Yes.
Westchester?
Cincinnati and Westchester.
Well, we grew up here from the time I was, I would say, 9 years old.
Okay.
And when I graduated from high school, I desired to go to Atlanta, but never got there.
Oh, where'd you go to high school?
Woodward High School.
Okay.
And then on to University of Cincinnati
Sure.
College Conservatory of Music.
Yes. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So,
Yeah.
because you mentioned you attended the University of Cincinnati and Cincinnati Christian University.
Yes.
So basically, this is your home base. And one of the things that, in looking at your background, you're a man of many talents. And so you're a speaker, obviously, a preacher,
Yes.
teacher,
Yes.
and motivator.
Yes.
But also, you're an accomplished musician. You play the keyboard, from what I
Yes.
understand.
Yes.
You're a singer and songwriter.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about obviously finding this out. You talked about the College Conservatory of Music. When did you find out that you had all these talents?
Wow, Joe. Good question. So about my junior year of college, after having experienced the R&B world and then musical theater, my desire to go in either one of those directions just began to wane. But I found that I love talking to people, sharing with people, helping people. And one day at a crossroads, the Lord just said, with Jesus, you can't go wrong. So I chose ministry.
Okay.
Interestingly, I knew nothing in regards to preaching or any of that.
No.
So I had to be taught, and I knew it was God that was leading me in that direction.
Oh, that's awesome. But one of the things that I need to also ask you, that I hear that you're in the process of releasing a CD.
Yes.
Can you let us know?
I will. Thank you.
Yes.
It's my desire to do it around June sometime.
Okay. And the focus is on, what is that CD? Ministry is obviously you got a lot of talents, a lot of background. So has it got to that point yet?
I would say the very theme of the album is life experiences.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay. Well, we look forward to hearing more about that. How's that?
Thank you.
Okay. So before Zion Global Ministries, you were the pastor of Lincoln Heights Missionary Baptist Church.
Right.
And so you basically stayed in the Cincinnati area and were there. So, Freddie, in November 17th, 2002 was a special day for you, the birth of Zion Global Ministries.
Yes. I want to say Lincoln Heights was a great experience for me, and still love the people there. But then the opening of Zion was something that just blew my mind.
Very good.
Yeah.
And so with that said, the journey, this is interesting. The journey started at your home. So you started this at your home, right? And then moved to the Grove Banquet Hall. I'm going to take you down memory lane here.
Yeah, I see.
Sycamore Junior High School.
Wow.
Oasis Conference Center?
You've been doing some homework,
We
brother.
have. Okay, we want to take you down memory lane. And back to basically your old stomping grounds, Woodward High School.
Yeah.
And finally, the Worship Center and Jordan Crossing. So talk a little bit about that journey because, obviously starting from your home, and then we're going to surely talk about where you're at in Westchester today, but a lot of stops along the way for you to get to where you're at today.
Yeah, that first stop at my home was amazing. I came up from the basement into the living room, and I saw all these people gathered in there, and my heart just melted. And someone, during the course of that just intimate setting, said, "Let's take up an offering." And then they suggested, "Well, what are we going to call the church?" And I'd been thinking for a while about it, actually. And the name Zion Global Ministries came up. I did not know what that entailed
Wow.
at that time. But it's amazing that we are now global.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So your journey to all these different locations along the way, with obviously a focus of one day being able to have your own place. And in 2004, you acquired the current location in Westchester. It's the Cincinnati Columbus Road, where you began worshiping at the 7th location on January 1, 2005. Special day.
That was a miracle. The global part of the ministry came as a result of eyeing a building that was next to Princeton High School.
Okay.
It was the old Globe
Yes.
furniture.
Sure. On Chester Road.
And we were about to sign on it when a pastor friend who had been looking at the location in Westchester came to my house and said, "There's a place that you got to see." And I said, "I will not do it because I know how much you wanted it." And he had tears in his eyes. He said, "Freddie, if there's anybody that can do this, you can." And I went there, and it was a setup from God. It was just amazing. It's almost as though he just put it in our hands.
Sure, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who remember before Zion, that was Liberty Heights Baptist Church.
Joe, I can't believe you, man. You've really done your homework.
Yeah, I remember.
It was Liberty Heights, and as you know, they bought a spot up 75.
Yes, they did. Right on the east side of 75. Right off of the Milliken Road.
Right. A farmer, I believe, wanted to make sure that industry was not on that land.
Right.
So he sold it to them for $1.8 million. It was 84 acres.
Okay. And a person by the name of Carlos Todd, who was the founder of our chamber, was instrumental in making that happen.
Liberty originally had that church up for 3.5, but when they got that blessing, they lowered the costs, which enabled us to step in and get that property.
It was meant to be.
And you know the background of that.
I do. Wow. Yeah, and we're sharing it today. Yeah, good. Yeah.
Wow.
So yes. So I told you we'd be going down memory lane.
You're taking me there.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
So additionally, you have a ministry location. So let's talk about the global piece. In Walnut Hills in Covington, Kentucky, Kenya, Uganda, Ghana, Africa. So you are global. How did that come about? How were you able to sustain that? Obviously, we talk about a global economy all the time from a business standpoint, what you've been able to do on the religious standpoint. And pretty amazing, originating from Westchester Township.
There is a gentleman by the name of Ezekiel Kagathi who's gone on to be with the Lord now. He came here to shadow me in 2003. And he was adamant about me coming to Nairobi, Kenya. He was from Nairobi. And while there, I said it would be about 6 months before I could visit. And a couple days later, he died. He died here. But the day after he left and we had that conversation, World Vision came in and said, Pastor, because of your faithfulness and your donations to World Vision, we have a trip for you to go to Nairobi, Kenya. And I asked, when is it? They said, in 6 months. So when Ezekiel died, I panicked and wondered how would I get in contact with his family. But I remember that World Vision came in the day after. They came in and took care of everything. I end up in Kenya, and we're staying at the Prime Minister's home. They have an ecumenical service. I'm drafted to preach. And as I'm preaching, there are Africans that are seeing an African American for the very first time.
Wow.
And one of the pastors, the lead pastors, came to me and said, we want to come up under your ministry. And that's how the global connection came.
So the impression you made at both obviously being the first African American that they had met, with how you presented yourself to them as well as preaching, made the type of impression that was able to bring that together.
Yeah.
And 6 months earlier, you were concerned about how things were going to move forward, and look what happened in those 6 months. Pretty special.
Pretty special.
I tell you what, and as we're learning as we go, these things seem to be meant to be.
Yes, and I'll tell you this, some years after, I went back to Nairobi with Compassion International, and I'm standing in a church in Nairobi. It's in a slum area, and I'm just looking around, and I can't stop. Everybody is talking, and I asked one of the pastors there, I said, have you ever heard of an Ezekiel Kagathi? He looked at me and he said, he was a youth pastor at this church.
Wow. Maybe you need to be writing a book. You got so many talents. Not to give you something else to do.
You're pushing me. You're pushing me.
Well, let's continue. So, obviously you have a traveling ministry, and I appreciate your focus is on reaching, teaching, restoring, and building.
Right.
And so that's your foundation. That's your core of
That's
who you are.
Yes.
And obviously what the ministry is about at Zion Global Ministries.
Yeah.
Do you see that as something as others that partake and participate in that, they focus, and you see that through the people that are there also besides just yourself?
Yeah, you have a core here, and to see you in action and to see the fruits of your labor has to be something really special.
Absolutely.
So when I see this reaching, teaching, restoring, and building just growing before my very eyes, it's really,
Can't put a price tag on that, can you?
No, it's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
You're very supportive of our youth, also our elderly, and are committed to our community. And I think that comes out loud and clear. We surely have seen the community part, and we'll talk a little bit more about that piece. Obviously, you've come to our luncheons. We just had you at a groundbreaking the other day. Obviously, being in Westchester Township, people are getting to know you, getting to know your church more. Tell us how important, again, that is in being able to talk to and connect with our youth, not forgetting our elderly, and giving back and connecting with the community.
Yeah. Well, since my youth, I've always had seniors pouring into me. I'll never forget that. And at my time at Woodward High School, the band director really took me in. His name was W.C. Turner, and actually helped me to get into college. So the connection with seniors has always been important to me. And giving to the youth is my way of giving back. in that sense. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Community is important in terms of just diversity and building bridges.
Yes, absolutely.
I love to see people crossing racial lines, denominational lines, economical lines. It's just coming together as one.
Absolutely. Well, by leading by example, obviously,
Yeah.
is extremely important. And here's one that we want to talk about. You hosted the Courageous Conversations during the COVID-19 pandemic after the passing of George Floyd. Let's talk a little bit about that, because that in suburbia really, I think, struck a chord that maybe you might see it in metro cities, but surely not in a suburban area, and surely not in Westchester Township, and you led the charge there.
Yeah, that was a much needed and crucial conversation that you helped to mobilize. And I really, really appreciate that. It was a lot of intense emotions that were shared in that time, but everyone was well respected and it was received.
Absolutely.
And out of that, I think a lot of relationships grew that are just unbreakable.
Good
My
point.
desire is, and my prayer is, that other cities would see that kind of thing and model.
Yeah, good point.
And I think it would help to prevent a lot of the volatility that happens around situations like that,
Sure.
because we don't come together enough
Yes.
to just talk and understand one another.
Absolutely. Well, I surely want to give credit where credit's due, that our chamber was involved, and it was led by Yasmin Brown Jones, as you know.
Yes, yes. Love
And
Yasmin.
yes, and I tell you that the community, the region took notice, and for you, Freddie, to have the faith in and the courage yourself to open your church up to not surely maybe recognizing or realizing what could happen from this, hoping some positive things would happen, took a lot of faith, a leap of faith on your part too.
Yeah.
And you were willing to do that, and not sure everybody would, but you did. And I surely think that from what we've seen, the relationships, especially with the township police department, the administration of Westchester Township, and the community, really benefited from that, and I surely think helped bring our community together when it was needed most.
Faith is a risk, and that moment was worth the risk. A lot came out of it.
Absolutely.
And we've been deepened, and I now have a friend,
That's right.
a brother for life.
That's right.
That's right.
And we're very appreciative of that, and it just continues. And so let's talk about as you move forward. Now here we are in 2025. We've all gone through COVID. We've gone through the tough situations that we
Survived
talked at.
that, yeah.
Amazing. And then we talked about the situation with George Floyd that happened during that period of time. And we're on the other side of this, and things are changing. It's a different world today. So what can we expect from Zion Global Ministries as you kind of think about the future of, now that you have your perspective of, obviously the township is probably grown, a lot more people know who you are, and now, as a community leader, what do you see? What do you want to see? And what is Zion Global Ministries going to be part of as we move forward here and getting closer to 2025, 2030, and beyond?
Yeah, well, we just opened up an outreach ministry called Blessed to Be a Blessing. And to see people coming there to get clothing and food has just been a tremendous blessing. And there are just a number of other ministries within the church that are too numerous for me to name that reach out to the community to foster better relations and also to help people to live more meaningful lives.
Sure.
That's significant. But also on the horizon is I'm looking to pass over the baton at least in a couple years.
Okay.
So we have a successor
Okay.
in mind, and we're grooming him for that. I will move up and give more oversight to our churches that are in Africa
Okay.
and churches that we planted here.
Very good. So you have a succession plan, but you're not leaving,
No.
and that's good.
Yeah.
But you obviously, in your role, as we've seen, some of the things you've been involved with, have been a mentor
Yes.
to many and continue doing that.
Yes.
So we've been blessed today to have Pastor Freddie Piphus Jr., founder and lead pastor of Zion Global Ministries, here with us. So Freddie, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for what you do for our community. We appreciate you and look forward to hearing more about that CD.
Thank you, Joe, for having me.
Hello, I'm Joe Henson, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Westchester Liberty Chamber Alliance and host of Java with Joe, the podcast. We just filmed our 50th podcast as we interviewed Reverend Freddie Piphus, lead pastor of Zion Global Ministries in Westchester. We averaged a show a week over the past year and are excited about the future of our podcast with more to come. I want to thank our guests for trusting in us and presenting their stories over the past year. I want to thank our presenting sponsor, Kemba Credit Union, sponsors First Choice Coffee, and Real Vision for their support. Also, I want to thank Tim Essex, our Director of Marketing and Public Relations, and Lorenzo Jackson of Real Vision for their work in making Java with Joe possible. And I want to thank you, our viewers, for your loyalty and tuning us in each week. Until next time, thank you for watching.
Java with Joe has been brought to you by Kemba Credit Union, sponsored in part by First Choice Coffee and Real Vision. Also by Bethesda Butler Tri-Health Hospital and Cincinnati State Workforce Development Center. Thanks for listening.